Welcome back to the channel. So I've just got started on this FK2 for a boost pressure fault. Thought I'd grab the camera and show you guys around what the actual cause of this fault is, as we've developed a repair for it, and this is exactly the reason why I brought that product out. Come and have a look. So on this car we're replacing the T-valve. Now the T-valve on the FK2 is a small valve situated between the boost pressure solenoid and the inlet manifold, and after a bit of time the sprung valve in there starts to break up and can fluctuate the boost. So we replaced this one with what comes on the FK8 as standard. It's just a replacement with the FK8 pipe and then a couple of bungs on the end. Now, while we're at this point, it gives us a great opportunity to have a look at the boost pressure solenoid and particularly the wiring to it. Some of the looms on the early FK2s have suffered from a bit of fatigue. You know, there's wires that haven't got like relief loops in them, so it can tug on the end of the wire and thus break the end of the wire into the solenoid. So if you come and have a look here, you'll see this one particularly on the blue wire here, it's actually broken off right at the terminal. And like I said before, this is the reason why I brought out the repair harness for this, because of where it breaks so close to the connector. It doesn't really make for a viable repair to put a new pin on there, so that's why we come with tails on the end and makes it easy for install to just repair this part easily. See, there's no way to repair that really once you've actually got the terminal out of there and then spliced a new end onto here. You're not leaving yourself much harness there to actually get yourself plugged back in. So you'll see in a moment where the other harness has got some tails, and we'll be able to make a nice repair here. To give you a quick run through on the job then, I've already stripped off the scuttle, so that was done by the two 17mm nuts on the wiper arms out of the way, a couple of clips either side, and then you can pull the plastics off the front here. Once the plastic's right, you've still got like a gutter shield along the bottom, so 5-10 mils around there gets that out of the way, and then you've got some clear access to get down to the valve here. I've got a couple of clips around the back here which I have to get with some long nose pliers, as well as the clamps around the hose for the T-valve itself. Okay, so you can see by releasing those I've got a fair bit of length now. I can strip some of that shrouding off and be able to make a nice repair. So I've got the top two hoses off here now, and I'm just left with the last one that goes to the inlet manifold now. I've seen a couple of cars back at Honda with this one where people have attempted to do their own bypass delete here, and they actually ended up breaking off the nipple there that goes into the inlet manifold. So this is just a point to be really careful of, as if, you know, some of these hoses can be quite tight coming off. A little tip here I would say is just to maybe run a blade down the side of that hose. If you're not looking to reuse this hose, it doesn't matter what happens to it in a way. So if we put a blade down the side of it, it just makes a slight ease as the hose comes off. It'll peel off of that nipple a little bit easier. So that's the T-valve off the car now. And this one in particular, if you give it a little tap, you can actually hear the parts inside there rattling, the little spring. So the bit that we'll be replacing this with will be one of the FK8 pipes. Now you'll see on this one here, it's straight through, there's no T coming off this, and that's what the little caps are for, to blank off the other end of the pipe that we're not going to be using anymore. So with this blanking cap on here now, that actually blanks off the pipe that comes through to the crossover pipe around the front here. Now what we could do is blank off these little caps here, but I'm not going to bother on this car. Just leave it stock looking on the front, all OEM like, and it can stay stock looking on the front here. With your harness loose now, you should be able to just wiggle down the other cable tie there and open up this shrouding to allow a little bit more length of wire to come out here. Can also just pull it back if you wanted, but the nicer way really would be to trim it up and open it up here. So let me grab the scalpel and we'll open that. So I've got the harness stripped out now, the wires are peeled back ready to have the new connector put on. Now you'll see from this one here, this is one of our repair harnesses, and it's like for like from the same connector that you would have taken off the car there. We've got the weather seal on the inside, we've got the lock there, even down to the wire colours being the same as what was on the car, so it makes it very easy for the installation. We even provide the terminals and the heat shrink there to crimp it on. So you shouldn't really be able to get this wrong. If you know you've got the fault there, then this is a direct repair for the car. This wire's a little longer than what I'd like, even with leaving a relief loop in the back of it. So I'm going to trim it down a little. It's still going to leave enough room for me to loop it back on itself and get a nice join onto the other wire without pulling on any of the wire in here. So I'm going to trim it back and get the connectors on before getting my hands down into there trying to get the second lot of terminals crimped on. So that's our repair ready to go back onto the car now. So that's the connectors in place. We're just going to slide the heat shrinks over and heat them into place there. This is a Raychem heat shrink that we're using here. Once it's heated enough, you'll be able to see the glue starts to come out the end of it, and that'll be the connector there sealed. So that's the repairs carried out down the back there. I'm going to carry on put the scuttle back together. But if you have any comments, let us know below. And remember, hit the like, share and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you on the next one.